This is Paul Berger for The Forward. This week I went to Brighton Beach to talk to some of the few remaining veterans of the Second World War about Victory Day, which is held on May the 9th every year. It's celebrated across the former Soviet Union as the final day of the Second World War. In Moscow and in other major towns and cities, it's considered a public holiday. In a very similar, albeit smaller way, Victory Day has been marked by Russian-speaking Jews on or living in and around Brighton Beach for the last few years, where veterans of the Second World War have marched. In recent years, their numbers have dwindled, obviously as they've aged, so much so that this year the parade was cancelled. So they decided to organise a small gathering at the corner of Coney Island and Brighton Beach Avenues. And we spoke to them about the war, about their experiences during the war, and we also spoke to them just about what it was like to be a Jewish soldier in the Red Army in those days. We heard a number of interesting stories about Jewish soldiers, one in particular, Mikhail Rabkin, who after a few months of fighting was cornered in a forest with his other men. He was the only Jew among them, and his commanding officer actually told him to throw away his papers so that the Germans didn't find out that he was Jewish. He was taken prisoner along with those men and spent the remaining 2, I believe, years of the war in a work camp. One of the men that we found away from Brighton Beach Avenue, actually on the boardwalk, was a man called Isaac Yosilovich. He was 86 years old and from Kharkov, and to me seemed indicative of the frail health that many of the men were now in. He was there with his daughter and his granddaughter, and he had a scar on the left side of his cheek, which I noticed at first but didn't put 2 and 2 together until when I was talking to him and to his daughter. She told me that, I believe it was a few months into the war, he was shot in the face and the bullet passed through his cheek. His daughter also told me that his wife had died 8 months previously, and he didn't join any of the celebrations that were being held either in the daytime or in the evenings in the Brighton Beach area for the veterans. One of the people that we met on the day was Victor Levinson, who was 15 years old when he was evacuated from Moldavia at the beginning of the Second World War. He went to Stalingrad, where he worked on a collective farm for a couple of years before being conscripted into the army. And when I asked him about his medals, what I found interesting was that on the left-hand side of his chest he had one medal which was for bravery, and then all of the other medals that he'd earned had been given to him after the war. So one has to wonder how many people will be left in 4 years' time when the 70th anniversary celebrations are marked, and also whether these people are going to be remembered for much longer. I know that younger generations of Russian-speaking Jews from the former Soviet Union definitely have it ingrained in them that their grandparents and great-grandparents fought and died at great cost during the war. But you do have to wonder, especially as immigrants go from first to second to third generation, how much longer the parades and the Victory Day celebrations will take place.